Hello again. This is your Michigan Sensei with yet part two to the horrors of teaching English in Japan. Well, where we had left off last time, I had finished working at America Eigo Gakuin, or otherwise known as AEG, not to be confused with the entertainment group, so that they don't strike me through a copyright or for slander or anything else. So, I finished working there, left the city of Sennan City, and put on my boogie shoes and decided to dance my way north to Osaka City, where I set up camp in Nishinari Ward, or maybe also known as Nishinari-ku if you're into Japanese. So that's where I landed. And why did I land there? Well, they had what they called a gaijin house. So, for those who don't know what a gaijin house is, it's basically, you could say, an old house that is rented out to foreigners who are passing through, or at least they intend to reside permanently in Japan, but need a place to stay, unlike a hostel and unlike a homestay, where it's kind of longer residence and maybe they pay month to month rather than getting into a lengthy lease and having to pay 1 to 2 months rent up front. So for those who are familiar with the system, yes, you can fact check me. That's fine. I've been out of the game for quite a while. But just to kind of give our new associates an intro, that's what it is. So, I lived in a gaijin house with people from Australia, the United States, and yes, even some Japanese who were passing through because they didn't have anywhere permanent that they wanted to go at that point, and we're still trying to figure things out. So, it was a pretty fun existence. On occasion, we would go out to bars and just live it up and enjoy each other's company, just chatting away, reminiscing about our home countries, and just, generally shooting the breeze and trying to stay cool on a very hot summer night in Osaka. And believe you me, Osaka could get pretty downright humid. So, unlike where I am right now in the suburbs of Michigan, of Detroit. So, there I was, Nishinari Ward in Osaka, taking the subway and train to work every day, which was about 45 minutes away in a city called Izumi-sano. Izumi-sano is near Kansai International Airport. So if you ever want to fly into the Kansai area, which is the area of Osaka, that's the airport you fly into. So, back to the story. I began teaching at a school called Apple English School. And yes, that it's its actual name, just so the more famous Apple doesn't come after me either. So there I was, happily teaching the kids, singing with them, regaling the adults with stories, and also helping them to improve their English too, and give them a taste of what life might be like overseas by my stories and my lived experiences up until that point. Yes, it may not have been very much, but really they didn't have much to work with, so they had to accept me. And I think the most important thing is that you get along with people, and I think I always endeavored to treat them with respect. So, I would say for about the first 4 or 5 months, everything seemed to be going well. I would teach my classes on site. I rotated around 3 schools. During that time, a teacher that I had had at a community center found an apartment. Well, actually, her mother said I could use that apartment. And so then I moved to now Izumi-Sano City and then commuted to the three schools from there. They also had me teaching um, at various off-center sites too. So I would go to there and do my job, teach the English, shoot the breeze with the students, and then either go back to the school or if it was after school hours, I'd go back home. So I enjoyed that because the pay was decent. It was 250,000 yen a month, or roughly $2,500. So that information is key. Why is it key? Well, to kind of set the story a little bit, there had been a teacher from Canada who had trained me when I came on, but she had to go back to Canada for a little bit and take care of something. So she effectively finished her contract, but had planned to come back. Well, she came back, but then the company lowballed her. And in this way, not in a good way. Although I don't know if it's ever possible to ever be lowballed in a good way. But in this case, it broke Japanese law, because the law did stipulate that English teachers must be paid 250,000 yen a month. And so the company tried to pay her less. Well, I had friends in the General Union. For the purpose of this story, the General Union is a union designed to help out English teachers in Japan. And so not only did I refer her to the General Union, I also introduced her to some people in the General Union who then said, hey, well, to fight for your rights and to improve your working conditions, you should form a union. So here I am, as my idealistic, bright, bushy-eyed 20-something self said, okay, let's go. So this Canadian gal, myself, and another American woman formed a union. To give a little bit more background, there were only 5 or 6 foreign teachers at that school. The other 2 teachers, 2 to 3 teachers, really did not want to have anything to do with it. So I thought, okay, well, we at least have 50% representation here. Let's go. And so we got help with creating a list of demands. I kind of thought the word demands was too strong. Wasn't my personal preference. Personally, I would have asked for requests instead, use that terminology rather than demands. But we rolled with it. We presented it to the school staff. Well, to say they weren't pleased was an understatement. They started hurling all kinds of invectives at us too. All kinds of names, saying all kinds of bad things about us. And at first, they attempted to stonewall us. But then we decided to bring in a negotiator from the General Union. They seemed to be open to that. And so we tried that route, but they stonewalled him too. And so we were kind of just flailing about a little bit, not really sure how to proceed. Things then got better. We got a Japanese negotiator involved, and he seemed to be moving the ball a lot because, well, he was way more versed in Japanese labor law than we were. So it seemed to be progressing to the point that the Canadian teacher would be able to resume her full salary. But then a family member of hers had a major accident back home. And so understandably, she had to leave. And we felt very bad for her and her family. You know, what do you do in that situation? Your family is more important than a job that is more than 5,000 miles away. So the company then decided to go after me because I had been very vocal. They have a saying in Japan: the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. Well, you can see who they wanted to hammer down at that point. So at first, I sought to fight. But then I became very worried about not so much the money aspect of it, but the visa was running out. And I was very unsure how to extend my visa. So I was of the opinion that while I was negotiating to stay on, that I could look for another job. Well, as kind of a little background to this story, I had also started dating someone, and I brought her to one of the general union meetings. And then one of the Japanese staff had explained to her that your boyfriend is trying to look for a job and fight for his position here. And we can't really go forward with that because we need some certainty. And so she kept talking and trying to convince me to make a decision one way or another. Well, one of the union people had the Japan Times. And for those who aren't familiar, the Japan Times is, or was, I think now still online, you can say is, a Japanese English newspaper. So they had an ad in there for another school, which I will save for the next video. So I think you can guess is that I took a small payout from Apple English School and decided to go to the other English school. But as I said, I will save that for next time. Thank you very much for listening, and take care.